point zero isn't the same thing for everyone. My point zero might have been here and your point zero might be here. When we both say, oh, I'm going to start a new company, all of our experiences in life, everything we've done before, everything we've done so far throughout however old you are, it counts towards what's your point zero. In my case, for example, I had this thought when talking to a friend. I was actually typing a message. He said something around the lines of, I'm starting from scratch he was learning how to program, but at the same message he said something about he already has a graduation in systems information, sistema de informação. I don't know how that's in English. Systems information, and he has experience working in a fintech startup. So his point zero isn't the same point zero as the guy who's getting out of college, like fresh, has no experience in anything. If you say you were learning programming from scratch, it's not the same scratch. It's not the same zero. My point zero when I started programming was in programming in general, it wasn't zero, let's say. No, in programming it was, but in computers, for example, it wasn't. However, in my class, I had a girl who she barely knew how to use a laptop. Okay, she had no fucking clue how to use a laptop. That's so stupid. She didn't know how to use a laptop. I remember once having to help her with creating a folder or whatever, something silly like this. And I realized, holy fuck, what do you mean you don't know how to create a folder? But yeah, it just goes to show that even though both of us were going to college and learning programming from scratch, my point zero was way ahead than her point zero, right? It makes sense. And it's the same thing, for example, in my case, it might be your case too. If you're watching this channel, odds are very high that you are either into tech or you're into self-improvement. And I'm gonna give two more examples in this situation. But imagine then, for example, both of us decide to start a mobile app from scratch. Okay? And I don't know who you are, but let's pretend you've had experience before with programming, and when you were in high school, you also decided to start dropshipping, right? So if you've been in dropshipping, you probably know how to create a landing page, you know how to run ads, you know about user-generated content, you know all of this shit. And then you decide to learn programming to publish an app. An app, not an app. An app, application. Same thing goes for me. I know programming, but I don't know shit about marketing. I did, but let's pretend I didn't know. Pretend I was just when you think of a programmer, you think of that guy who's the backend developer, the Java backend developer. Think of the Java backend developer, but think of this guy. If you're the Java backend developer and you say, you know what, I'm going to publish an app, and you don't know anything about marketing, you don't know anything about talking to customers, you don't know anything about distribution, you don't know anything about creating content online and using video editors like CapCut to edit stuff, this is not the same point zero. This is not the same point zero. It might be easier or harder. No, we don't know. Yeah, that's the fucking thing. We don't know. Your point zero is different. If you are building an app from scratch by yourself, and you don't have a co-founder, you don't have someone else who knows what you don't know. Sorry, if you don't have someone if you're by yourself, you don't have someone, a co-founder who knows what you don't know, you're gonna struggle. Your point zero from starting the app, instead of being here, it might be all the way there, behind. I think for you, because the camera, I don't know, but I don't think this is behind, this is the future, okay? Here, all the way here, this is your point zero. However, the other guy who already had I said he had no program experience, but let's say he had work experience with drop shipping and stuff, and now he was learning programming, and then he decided, you know what, I'm going to publish an app. So this guy who had work experience in drop shipping, okay, and his less experienced in programming than you, whatever, it just sets him far ahead. You might be here because you don't know programming, but this guy knows what you don't know, and he knows a little tiny bit of what you do know. So it just puts him ahead. And this, now that I'm thinking of it, it's a great analogy to why you need to be a generalist. It makes no sense to be fully specialized in I don't know, let's say Java. Let's keep bashing on the Java developers out there. It doesn't make any sense to be the very old-fashioned Java developer who only knows Java and don't know shit about anything else. Everyone nowadays, if you want to work for, I mean, it also depends on what you want to do in your life. If you want to work for a big tech company, probably makes sense to be specialized. I don't know. My thing are startups. I like to work in small, lean teams where you have, you can do stuff. You are not being micromanaged. You don't have 15 bosses and people above you. You can do whatever you want. That's it. I like it. That's my thing. You might not like it, and that's okay. But where am I going with this? In the startup world, if you were just the guy who knows Java, you are fucked. Why would they hire you to work when they are a 5 people team, developer team, or 5 people in general in total, and just 3 developers, for example? It just doesn't make any sense. Maybe the team has a full stack developer, a front end, and a back end developer, but just it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to have one person who knows only one thing and doesn't know anything else. That's why this is the era of the generalist. If you're the guy who knows, for example, front end nowadays, I've been seeing so many developers who are front end and are either choosing to be full stack or also a designer. So here's the thing. Another example. If someone tells you, I'm learning backend development from scratch because they've been a front-end developer their whole life, and now they decided to just transition to be a full-stack developer, and then you, who doesn't know anything about programming, you decide, I'm going to be a backend developer. You guys, this is not the same point zero. This is a very big this one is very obvious. Like someone who works in the field and is now just transitioning to a different side of the field. It's kind of obvious, but still, it's an example. The guy who knows front end and now wants to become a full stack, he's gonna know way more than you. His scratch, his point zero. Fuck, they started construction here, anyways. His point zero is gonna be here, and yours, if you don't know anything, you're gonna be set all the way back to zero, or you might be zero. It depends on how you look at the situation, right? And so what I'm saying about front-end developers, I've been seeing lots of them becoming less of front-end developers and also, and sorry, I've been seeing front-end developers transitioning from just front-end developers to also either a full stack developer or a designer. All right? It just makes sense. If you see V0 can put up a whole landing page for you in 1 second. Like who? But who the fuck needs front-end developers anymore? No, that's not nice to say. But anyways, a front-end developer is not just a front-end developer anymore. You need to know design. You need to have taste. You need to be able to touch code to touch components on Figma and export them to your front end. And that's how you aggregate value to a company. And that's all about that's the whole thing about working. It's generating value to other people. Correct? Correct. But anyways, this video wasn't about being a generalist or not. This video is about point zero, and this came to my mind after talking to my friend. He's not even my friend. He's just a guy who sent a message in a group chat I'm in, and I answered him like, welcome. But yeah, point zero for you is different than point zero for me. Don't bash yourself if you see someone who's way ahead of you, even though they have less time in the same field and point zero. It doesn't make any sense. In this group chat I just mentioned, there's a guy who's 19. He just turned 19 and he's making 4 times minimum wage. No, not even four, probably like 7 times minimum wage in Brazil. And he's just 19 and he's working as a developer. And then when you think about it, like, he's just 19. His point zero, when he actually focused and put down his head to study, was a year and a half ago, if I'm not mistaken, something like this. He decided to really start studying programming. And I always thought, holy fuck, like this guy achieved the level he's in right now in such a short time frame. Like, this guy is a fucking genius. But then I found out that he's actually been playing with code and programming and stuff since he was 11. So it just goes to show that even though both of us, we joined not at the same time, this group chat, he joined like 4 months before I did. And that was his point zero when he started programming, and seriously, that's when he considered his point zero. But if you think about it, his point zero was boosted, like he was all the way there because he started many years ago when he was 11, right? So our point zero was joining that group chat, that mentorship, but he was way ahead of me. And for a long time I kept thinking, holy fuck, like this guy is way better than I am. Like, he's 1 year younger than me. I'm turning 21 and he turned 19. So okay, he's 2 years younger than me and he's fucking me up, right? He might be watching this video. If you are, Yuri, abraços, tamo junto. And yeah, don't bash yourself. Your point zero is not my point zero, and my point zero is not point zero of Yuri. So please what? I was gonna say subscribe, but I never say that. So yeah, do whatever you want with this information, okay?